Hello, welcome back to the Towel Boy, where we try to give you the cleanest takes in sports. Today, we're just going to do a quick give my thoughts of what has happened during the summer league so far here, the NBA Summer League. I gave a quick preview of my thoughts and players I was excited to watch play and see what happens. Certain teams, certain scenarios, but I know summer league isn't over yet, but we've seen enough now. We're about to get into like the elimination rounds. Some players have been cut off. The teams have seen enough of these players, so at this point, I feel like we have a good enough idea of how players look to kind of assess their overall summer league. So we're going to get into it. I'm going to go just team by team alphabetically and just talk about players that impressed me or made some sort of impression with me. I'll admit I didn't watch every single game, every team's games, but I probably watched more summer league than like a normal human probably would. So I feel like I have at least an idea. But then again, I wanted just to clarify, I'm not an expert by any means. Didn't see every game, so maybe I missed something. But these are just my own personal thoughts of who flashed, who didn't, sort of thing. So we're going to get into it. Like I said, talk about each team if they had a player that stood out to me. Starting with the Atlanta Hawks, you know, I was really high on Mason Newell, the rookie out of Georgia. For the most part, he hasn't been exceptional, but he looks like what you would expect, right? There's a role player in there for this year, and there's upside. He's got the shooting touch. That he's been somewhat efficient, so you like that. But nothing crazy there. But then the one player who had the most to prove probably is Kobe Buffkin, right? Coming into year three. Um, he looks okay to me. I'm not super high on him. Wasn't high on him when he was coming out of the draft a couple years ago. I think you would want a little bit better efficiency just overall, but he's shown good promise. He's been getting to the free throw line, getting fouled, so that's definitely an upside. And of course, you have to take into consideration who they are playing with, right? Buffkin probably looks a little bit better playing with Kristaps, Jalen Johnson, you know, rather than summer league players. So uh, he's been, I'd say, a positive for the most part. Um, as he looks to carve out a role in the NBA. Moving on to the Celtics, Boston Celtics. First off, Hugo Gonzalez. He looks the part more than I thought he would in an NBA setting. I thought he was a huge project, and I mean that first game against the Grizzlies, he looked super physical, super intense, ready to go. There was one interview I thought was super funny. They were asking him questions, and of course, there's some sort of a language barrier, but the question wasn't pertaining to anything about the game specifically, and he was all like, "Yeah, we got to execute better, get ready to go, so he can run back out on the court." And you love to see that intensity. I thought it was really funny, but he looks more of like an NBA player than I thought. So, um, kudos to Hugo there. Um, I've been on record saying I still think there's a player there in Jordan Walsh. I mean, he had a big scoring game, about a 30-point game. I think he's got the defensive upside as the Celtics look to rebuild. I hope he gets some more minutes this year. Um, and then, of course, Amari Williams, I'm a big fan of. He's showing some flashes that he could be a role player for them again as a big man, facilitating, rebounding. Um, and then moving on to the Brooklyn Nets. Everybody, we talked about their draft class, how it was kind of controversial is not the right word, but just people were speculating a lot about what they were thinking, what was the decision making there. Um, But for Jaeger Dimit, or excuse me, Jaeger Gyoman, we've all been saying it wrong. Uh, Jaeger said is pronounced Joman, so Jaeger Joman, he looks way comfortable shooting from the NBA 3-point line. So whether it's catch and shoot off the dribble, he looks more advanced than what scouts and people kind of evaluators thought he would look like behind the 3-point line. I mean, just last night he went 4 of 8 from the 3-point line, which is a huge um, swing skill for him, right? His ceiling upside will be way higher if he can really shoot the ball. Um, the other rookies, Nolan Traore, he's done good getting paint touches, and I think once the Nets continue to evolve the roster, maybe not this year or next, but as they hopefully keep adding good players, um, those paint touches will be very important for the team success. Ben Saroff has had some moments where he looks like he can be a player. He's going to be raw. Of course, a rookie, a little bit of a project, but he looks fine. Um, their other rookie, Danny Wolf, he looks a little bit more out of place than I would like. Um, what's his role going to look like in the NBA? Who knows? Is he going to be more of a ball handler, off ball? It's going to be kind of tricky to figure out. But I would have liked him to just look more comfortable out there, right? He looks a little sped up, a little bit out of place. Then Grant Nelson is a guy undrafted, but he's showing some flashes that he's got role player value eventually. I talked about him in the preview that he's hustle guy, can maybe hit a shot every once in a while. He's got a role somewhere, maybe as like a two-way player, eventually G League star, overseas stud for sure. But the biggest thing for me is Drew Timme, right? When he was coming out of Gonzaga, people didn't really think his game would translate. He played a little bit for the Nets at the end of the year last year, but he really looks like an NBA player in this summer league. Averaging like 26 points a game, summer league. He's like summer leagues. He's fluctuating at the top or number two spot at the uh, I would have to look at the stats officially, but as the scoring leader for the summer league, and he looks like an NBA player. It's funny. There was one game where they were coming back, and it's just feed Drew Timmy, let him go to work. Right? He can shoot the ball a little bit, but at the end of the day, he gets the job done. Maybe it's unconventional, a little bit in today's day and age, but he looks like an NBA player out there, right? He postered Alex Sarr, showing a little bit of that athleticism too. I've been very pleasantly surprised to see Drew Timmy be so successful and looking so good out there. And then for the Charlotte Hornets, nothing crazy has stood out to me. Colin Knippel and Liam McNeely have both had a little bit of their ups and downs shooting, but I think they both had flashes, and it's more exciting when you really think about who they're going to be playing with, right? They're going to have a LaMelo Ball playmaking for them rather than having to self-create or having Damian Baugh or those type of players create for them, right? There's definitely a step up from summer league players to LaMelo Ball, so it's kind of exciting to just kind of picture what they could look like with their All NBA, All Star guard there. And then the Chicago Bulls haven't. They're not a super exciting summer league team. Javon Liberty Freeman, he's been their clear best player. He was last summer league, very good G League player. And then Noah Essengay was their first round pick. He was picked as a project player, and he looks like a project player out there, right? He moves really well. His athleticism pops on the screen, but he's still got ways to go as far as a full rounded NBA player. But that's kind of what you expected. I think the Bulls should kind of take that more rebuilding um, year to kind of see what Matas Muzelis looks like. Give Essengay that time to just really improve as a player. So hopefully they take that route. I think that will help Essengay out in the long run. The Cleveland Cavaliers. I Jalen Tyson was a rookie last year. Didn't get a lot of run because they were the number one seed in the Eastern Conference, one of the best teams in the NBA. But he looks like he's ready for an NBA role on their wing. Right? They got rid of Isaac Okoro. Ty Jerome is gone, so Jalen Tyson might be able to take some of those minutes, get a shot for the Cavs next year. He's one of those players who might be just a little too good for the summer league, right? Um, Norchad Omir, I talked about in the preview. He's a stud. He plays hard, gets rebounds, can score a little bit. I don't really know. He's undersized really to play in the NBA, I think, but I think he's going to be a G League stud, overseas All Star type player. And then another player who's really impressed has been Naquan Tomlin. He's got an awesome story. Um, Picked up basketball later in life comparatively. Um, was invited to the combine after the G League combine last year. Um, and he had some 30-point plus games. He's for sure an NBA two-way player, right? He's long, tall, 6'11", moves really well, can play maybe the four, or can overpower some people. With surprising strength. And so I think there's an NBA player in Naquan Tomlin for sure. He's got a little bit of shooting touch, and just a little bit of like nastiness that you like to see sometimes. So I think Naquan Tomlin has really impressed me in the games that I've seen him play. And then, of course, talking about the Dallas Mavericks, Cooper Flag had to play two games before the Mavs shut him down. They saw enough what they need to see. First game against the Lakers, his efficiency wasn't there, but he was getting to his spots with ease. And I think part of the reason the efficiency wasn't there was they weren't really running sets. He was creating all of the shots by himself. That's not going to be his role for the Mavs in his rookie year. Maybe not ever, but especially his rookie year, he's going to be playing off of Anthony Davis, off Kyrie when he comes back. There's going to be other players there. So you can see the potential just oozing out of him. In that first game, he was setting up teammates, he was rebounding, playing defense. You would have liked to see him make more shots from the outside, of course. But then in the second game against the Spurs, he had like, I think I saw that it was the most points by a number one pick in like 10 years in the summer league, right? It was like 36, 37 points, beast. It just they saw enough. All right, we're shutting you down. He's going to be the favorite for rookie of the year. He's the most skilled rookie. The Mavs lucked into maybe another all-star player there after trading Luca. And then Ryan Nimhard and Miles Kelly have both had moments where they look really good. Ryan Nimhard had that amazing first game against the Lakers. Uh, and I think I talked about both of those players maybe contributing to the Mavericks at certain times during the season, and they just kind of reinforced that for me. So Nimhard and Miles Kelly are going to be some really good two-way players for the Mavs there. The Nuggets, the Denver Nuggets on the next team, nothing crazy to talk about there. Deron Holmes has shot the ball a lot. I've talked about his upside might be a swing for the Nuggets roster. I don't know how much running he'll get. They have a deeper team this year, but the shooting potential, if he's able to do that, he'll get some playing time out there with or without Jokic. Boo Booey, it's fun to see him out there. The Northwestern product, he's been more productive than I would have imagined offensively, so that's been fun to watch. And then EJ Liddell and Curtis Jones also have some um, intrigue to me. Curtis Jones, a microwave scorer. EJ Liddell, a little bit undersized forward, but he has defensive moments. He's got physicality. There might be something there still, right? Then the next team is the Detroit Pistons. Ron Holland has been one of those clear, way too good for summer league. Um, he's looking to take that year two leap. There's going to be more minutes open, I think, for him just because he gotten better. And then with roster changes, Ron Holland looks like he's going to be a stud. He's a special talent. He was one of my top five players. He might have, yeah, he was one of my top three players in the draft last year, right? So Ron Holland has impressed me greatly. And then Dennis Jenkins was out of St. John's. He played 7 games for the Pistons last year, but to be quite honest, he was one of the few players I really wasn't familiar with going into the summer league, and he really impressed me. Making shots, running the offense. He looks like an NBA player out there. Um, Probably more of a two-way player but for someone that I didn't really know much about, he's looked really good. So I've been impressed by Dennis Jenkins there for the Pistons. And then for the Warriors team, nobody's really stood out to me as like a huge contributor. Teron Armstrong, I think, shows some flashes. Gabe Madsen has had some shooting moments. Their rookie Will Richard out of Florida, the national champion, he's been very consistent when he's been playing. Hitting some shots, playing decent defense. He might be some role player for them eventually. Um, but no one's really stood out to me as someone that can make a major impact for the Warriors or really on an NBA like, championship roster. Then going to the Rockets, nothing huge to talk about for me there either, other than Reed Shepard looks like he's going to take some minutes and he's going to be good enough to play those minutes, right? Um, I think defensively, just because he's undersized, you might think he's a weak link there, but he's shown some good things defensively. He's going to hit some shots. You hope the efficiency is better in the NBA, but I think with more consistent minutes, that'll come. Uh, I don't. I would have liked to see him just kind of look way better than the rest in the summer league, but he hasn't done that to me yet. But he's definitely good enough to play in the NBA there. Third overall pick last year, so you would hope to see that for the Rockets. And then for the Indiana Pacers, they've had some. Taylor Peter was that surprise pick. He showed some athleticism. Johnny Furphy has some crazy dunks, but nobody has really screamed out to me for the Pacers squad there. Enrique Freeman has some moments. They have some question marks at the big man position. Maybe he can play a little bit of center moments, some center minutes there for the Pacers, but no one, kind of like the Rockets, other than Reed Shepard, stood out to me for the Pacers. The Los Angeles Clippers, though, we talked about them being one of the better. teams in this summer league, and they've kind of looked the part there for me. Kobe Brown and Jordan Miller are veterans, quote unquote. Especially for summer league, they were some of the better players last year, and once again, they're some of the better players at the summer league here in 2025. Kobe Brown and Jordan Miller. The Kobe Sanders, the rookie out of Nevada, he's had some moments there too. Um, Kind of a swing forward guard there. Trenton Flowers, who's undrafted out of the NBL, he's had some really good scoring moments, and I think he looks like he's very young still. Only about 20 years old. He's got a real chance, I think, to eventually find a spot, whether with the Clippers, but or not in the NBA. But then the one like question mark or downside is Yannick Conan Niederhauser, their first round pick out of Penn State center. He looks a little lost out there. He's just doesn't look like he's fully up to speed with the NBA game. We all knew he was going to be a little bit of a project player, and you don't want to overreact. But of course, we all love to overreact to summer league and stuff like that. But with players like Kalkbrenner or right now, who was drafted after him, who looked better than him in summer league, you question what the Clippers might have made the wrong pick there. But way too early to fully tell, you know. And then moving on to the other LA team, the Lakers. Unfortunately, their first round pick from last year, Dalton Connect, he looks pretty to me, he looks pretty bad. He's not shooting the ball great. He still struggles inside the arc. And just for someone who played minutes in the NBA, was a first round pick, you would have liked to see a bigger step in his development. And he looks stagnant to me. He looks about the same player, and he wasn't very good as a rookie. So the fact that he doesn't look better than not very good is pretty concerning to me if I'm a Lakers fan or the Lakers organization. They clearly thought similar thoughts last year. They tried to trade him away from Mark Williams, and I don't think he'll be a Laker for a long time. I'm just that's a prediction of mine there. Another player, of course, you're going to talk about Bronny James. There's a role player in there to me. One day there's going to be a Davion Mitchell type role for him. Good defender. He's got athleticism out the wazoo. He's just a little undersized for the guard position. And if he can eventually still work on becoming more consistent with his 3-point shot, there's definitely a place in the league for Bronny there. But then the most impressive player for the Clippers has been Cole Swider. Um, about 6'8", can really come off screens, off ball. He can shoot the ball really well, and I think he's somebody that might be a player for the Lakers that they can really use. He can contribute, give them some outside shooting that I think they desperately need to play off of Luca and to play off of LeBron. The Memphis Grizzlies are a team that we talked about, similar to the Clippers or teams like the Pistons or the Timberwolves, that they should be one of the better teams here, and they have been as a summer league. They got to play in Utah as well. Jalen Wells has looked one of the first team all rookie last year, coming off of injury. He's looked better than most there, which you would like to see. GG Jackson as well, going into his third year. He looks more decisive, off the ball, attacking closeouts a little bit quicker. So you'll like to see the improvement there. He's still got a long ways to go defensively, so we'll see if he can crack the rotation there in Memphis. Cam Spencer has had his scoring moments. He got a new contract, fully guaranteed. So those three, you wanted them to look better than a lot of players because they have NBA experience and they have looked better. Um, Reverse the Zion Pullen. He was on a two-way contract last year for the Grizzlies, and he's had a rough summer league. He's struggled making shots, struggled running the offense, at turnovers, looks too sped up. He's looked really bad, in my opinion. So unfortunately for him, I think he's getting lapped by some of the rookies this year, like Javon Small or Jemai Mashack, who's the other person I want to talk about for the Grizzlies. He's got the reputation. He was the last pick in the draft as a reputation as a great defender at Tennessee, one of the best defenders in the nation in college. He has that grit and grind mentality, right? That the Grizzlies want to look for. Uh, but he's shown some offensive flashes, hitting threes, running the offense as a point guard. Um, if he can do that consistently, I think there's going to be a place, especially in a team and an organization like Memphis, he can really, whether on a two-way or a fully guaranteed roster spot, if he can continue to be an offensive threat, I think he might be a Memphis Grizzlies for a long time. He just really embodies what the Grizzlies you kind of think about, that grit and grind, and he's been kind of awesome. Surprisingly, he's had that awesome defense, but then really good offense for the Grizzlies as well this summer. So, uh, Jemai Mashack is someone that's really impressed me. Then for the Miami Heat, nothing crazy. Khalil Ware is one of the better players here in summer league. I still want to see more consistency just in general, whether it's effort. That's been a thing that even Eric Spoelstra has talked about. I would still like to see him get inside a little bit more. I think he gets a little bit enticed with the perimeter game a little bit too much, but he's still one of the better players there. He's going to continue to get better. I think for the Heat, Kasparis Yakuchonis, he really struggled in the California Classic with turnovers. He had both games had way more turnovers than like made shots or assists. And that was a concern coming out of Illinois, right? So that's still there. That concern is still there. He struggles with the physicality. Once he got to Vegas, he got looked a little bit more comfortable, but those concerns are still there, and he's got a ways to go before I think he can really contribute to the Heat. So we'll see what happens with training camp and stuff like that. But he's a little bit further away than I would have guessed or would have hoped to see if I was the Heat. The Milwaukee Bucks are another team where not a super exciting summer league team, but they're looking for a contributor around Giannis, right? I think one of these players, especially with Chris Livingston, Andre Jackson, or Tyler Smith, they want one of them to be a real contributor. Andre Jackson was probably the best NBA player for them last year. Chris Livingston has looked the most aggressive and probably looked like the best player here in summer league. Tyler Smith, he still moves so good for like a 6'10" forward center, but if he's supposed to be like a outside shooter, but his shot is just not falling. So that's unfortunate here in summer league. Hard to make full conclusions, but the Bucks are still, I think, looking for one of those three guys to make a real impact. And then the Timberwolves were the team I was the most excited to watch in summer league. They have a bunch of intriguing players. And they've all produced at the level that you would have liked them to, right? Terrence Shannon Jr., he has that downhill driving ability, lots of energy, super athletic, shown improvements defensively. I think he's going to really crack the rotation this year. Jalen Clark, defense travels, and he's an elite defender on the perimeter. I think he's all up in your face. And the ball handlers really struggle against Jalen Clark, so he's going to get minutes just because of his defense. If he can keep shooting, that's going to be great. He had that one play that was hilarious. He tried to lob it off the backboard to himself, almost missed it, but that was one of the funnier moments of summer league. But there, Jalen Clark looks like a good player. Rob Dillingham, I think, has improved. The 3-point shot looks pretty good. Um, he still needs to work on his efficiency inside the arc, whether it's the mid range or finishing around the rim. But he's definitely shown growth, I think. And he's shown growth also and improvement as a playmaker, as a facilitator. So you like to see that. There's been improvement there. Um, you hope to see him get more minutes and more consistent play time. Uh, Leonard Miller is another player. He's a productive player in summer league and the G League, but I just don't see it ever translating to the NBA. I think it's mostly because his 3-point shot is just non-existent. He's a really good rebounder, hustle player, but I just if he can't figure out that shot, then I don't really see him translating to the NBA. He's going to be a good player, G League or summer league, of course, but we've kind of talked about him, Dillingham, Clark, and Shannon as players that might be contributing to the Wolves next year as they look to make that step into the to make it to the finals, replacing Alexander Walker minutes. I just don't think he's going to be that guy, but I could be wrong, of course. And then their rookie Joan Bernier out of Slovenia, he looks like a Rudy Gobert regen. First game he had like 7 blocks. His first possession, I think two crazy blocks. His defensive timing is fantastic for a super young rookie. uh he started playing basketball only like 4 years ago, so his upside is fantastic. He looks like a if he can learn from Rudy Gobert defensively, Hall of Fame center, no matter what you want to say. Uh and then he's got some offensive touch. So if he can learn from Rudy, be half the defender Rudy was with a little bit of offensive ability, look out for Joan Berenger, right? The New Orleans Pelicans are a team. Basically, we want to just talk about their two first round picks, right? Jeremiah Fears has been everything you would have expected. Some ups and downs. Struggled a little bit with physicality and finishing around the rim, but then he's also had good scoring moments. He looks the part, which I think is important. I really do. Um, you can't take eye tests into everything, but he doesn't look out of place athletically, quickly, So um, he's had good moments rebounding and playmaking as well. So ups and downs for Fears, but he looks like what we expected. He's going to have those ups and downs that you have as a rookie guard in this league. Derek Queen has been pretty disappointing to me. He's had moments, of course, scoring, showing his ball handling, but he's had turnover issues, and then defensively, he just takes plays off where he's just kind of standing around or hoping that his teammates are going to do the work for him. And that was one of the question marks surrounding him. So you would have liked to see more effort there out of Derek Queen, but hopefully he improves on that, learns from this experience. Um, and I'm still intrigued to see how the Pelicans utilize both their rookies in the NBA season. The New York Knicks, uh, they don't really look to add to their rotation. They're a pretty deep team, but one of the Bakome Dadier, Tyler McCulloch, Kevin McCullough, or Ariel Hookporty, you kind of would think one of them might join the rotation next year for the Knicks. But so far, none of them super flash to me or show that they're taking a huge step to make that to crack the rotation. Tyler Kolek especially has struggled, I think. Um, there's just shooting struggles. None of them have shot the ball really well, so it's been a little disappointing to see out of the Knicks. But the Oklahoma City Thunder are the next team, and they're not been disappointing. So they keep finding studs to add to their team. AJ Mitchell, I think, would be probably the first or second backup guard for most teams, and he's going to be buried on the depth chart fighting for minutes next year for the Thunder. He was quickly in Utah, realized way too good for the summer league, played a lot. He's been one of the best players for throughout this whole summer league process. Like a team like the Bucks, I don't know if they could figure out a way to get AJ Mitchell, but he could greatly contribute for almost any team. Nikola Topic, their 12th overall pick last year, who missed uh, his rookie season due to injury. He looks like a steal at the 12th overall pick. The way he can navigate in the lane is so fun to watch. The 3-point shot has been there. Uh, I think he's going to create some opportunity for Shea to play off ball, which will um, just expand the reigning champions offense even more. So he looks awesome. If he was in this draft, I think he might have been a top three, top five pick. So Topic has looked awesome. They did it again. Their 44th overall pick, Brooks Barnheiser, out of Northwestern. He looks like he might be a role player legend, right? Um, he was known for his toughness, his grittiness at Northwestern. Um, Fantastic rebounder. He's going to get his hands dirty defensively. He's been hitting some shots. He looks like he's going to be a really good role player in the league. He's been awesome to watch. And then Chris Youngblood, who played at Alabama last year, um, he might find his way on the roster, or at least someone else's roster, with at least a two-way spot. I think he would be the best shooter on this Thunder team. He's hitting shots off ball, off coming off screens. He's hit some pull-up shots, and they can really use more shooting, outside shooting. So I think Youngblood's been really impressive there for the Thunder. The Orlando Magic, uh, Jace Richardson has leveled up to the NBA settings seamlessly. Um, he really just looks comfortable out there, and it's been pretty impressive to watch him just kind of transition from Michigan State to the summer league, and he looks totally just the same type of things that he was doing at Michigan State. He's been doing in the summer league. Uh, Noah Pinda looks pretty solid. Their other rookie, he looks bigger to me on the NBA court than during the scouting process than I kind of thought. He's solid defensively. He's showing offensive upside. There's definitely a player in there. And then Tristan Da Silva. Um, One of their returners. He looks like he can be a decent wing player, right? One of the better players in the summer league. He might be able to get some minutes for the Magic this upcoming year. The Philadelphia 76ers, they've got a lot of players who might contribute, I think, to their roster. Adem Bona is a great energy big, always going to rebound, good defender, a little out of control sometimes, but I think there's definitely a spot in the rotation for him. Janai Broom, big man out of Auburn. There was question marks around him if he could play in the NBA due to his athleticism, but he's a smart player. He knows what to do, and he's even shooting the ball from the 3-point line really well in the summer league. So if he can shoot the ball, I think there's going to be NBA minutes for Janai Broom. That's if he can shoot, especially with Joel Embiid. There's going to be injuries. The team probably wants to not play Embiid as much, so Broom will get minutes. I think in this NBA and be productive. Justin Edwards is another returner, second year player. He's been slightly disappointing to me in the summer league. You would want him to look kind of like a Jalen Wells. Wells was better as a rookie, but like you would like to see Edwards be one of those like too good for summer league players, and he just hasn't. He's been inefficient. Hasn't looked as dominant. He's tried to force things a little bit too much, but we saw him be pretty productive in the NBA, so he's still a good wing player there, but just not as good as I would have hoped to see. And then VJ Edgecombe hasn't played a lot, only played a couple of games, but you really see the flashes. He's had some great scoring moments. You've seen some intensity. Uh, in the second game played, he didn't score in the first half. Then he had 15 in the second half. So uh, first game in Utah, he had a great scoring output. So he's going to be one of the better rookies. See how the Sixers utilize him during the season. Then one of the more surprising teams to me has been the Phoenix Suns. Their young role players look like they're ready to contribute now. Um, as there's been major roster turnover in Phoenix. Ryan Dunn, he's going to be a great defender still, but he looks like he's improved offensively. You hope. Last year he showed shooting flashes in summer league first couple of games, and then he was not a good shooter. So that's still the biggest question mark around him if he can be more consistent there. Also Iguodaro, uh, he looks NBA ready. I think Kobe Brea, the sharpshooter out of Kentucky, he's one of those guys where when he shoots it, you think it's going to go in. So we already knew that he could be a elite sharpshooter, but he's shown a lot of on-ball self-creation moments, which is really exciting to add to Devin Booker there, Phoenix Suns. Come on, now you watch looks a little bit like more of a raw project than I would have guessed, honestly. But that's probably why the Suns went and also got Mark Williams. They were willing to take some time to grow and develop Mal Watts there. Um, in this setting. He's taking a lot of threes, which I don't think will be his role in the NBA, but you do like to see him getting reps there. So um, the Suns have been impressed, and I think a lot of these young guys will get some run in the NBA this next year. The Portland Trailblazers haven't had too much um, to get me super juiced, other than Young Hansen. His upside has been really, really fun to track. Um, Everybody knows that the pick was kind of surprising when they made the pick, but his passing has still been super awesome. He's still got a long ways to go in other aspects, right? Rebounding defensively. I think his definitely some improvement needs to be made, but you see the skill set that is there, and you get excited about Young Hansen there. And then another player that has surprised me for the Blazers has been Caleb Love. People know his name. He played at UNC, Arizona, and he's looked more poised and comfortable in a pro setting than I kind of would have guessed. You know, he was kind of known as to be a little bit of a at times could shoot you in games and shoot you out of games, but he's looked more poised running the offense. So I think Caleb Love will get two-way consideration in the NBA here after his summer league showing. And then some other veteran guys for other team for the Sacramento Kings that can contribute right away. I think Devin Carter has looked really good. He's going to be a good role player, I think, for Sacramento. He had an injury, got thrown in around January, February, never found his footing in his rookie season, but looked for him to be way more improved his second year. And then Nick Clifford and Maxime Reynal, they're rookies. They look NBA ready to me. They look very comfortable, ready to go. And that's kind of what happens when you take older players. They might not have the upside, but they've learned more in college through their experience. They're more ready to go. I think they will be ready to contribute to the NBA um, for the Kings. And then the Spurs. Um, they had the number two overall pick. He hasn't played a ton, Dylan Harper. But when he has played, you see the flashes, right? You see his athleticism, his downhill scoring ability. He's had some good defensive moments, whether it's protecting the rim or just using his athleticism defensively. Um, Carter Bryant, speaking of defense, you would think that Carter Bryant's been one of the best players in summer league, where you've seen outlets talk about him and rave about um, his his performances. He's had some amazing defensive plays. He's been flying around, protecting the rim. I mean, he's shooting like sub 20% from the field. Um, I think maybe sub 15% from the field, not hitting shots at all. But he's been so good defensively that you kind of don't even notice that. So if he can, obviously, you going to need to improve the shooting splits, but you see why the Spurs got him to be another fantastic wing defender around Wemby, right? He looks way bigger out there, a legit 6'9". Um, and then David Jones Garcia has been one of the best scorers in all of summer league here, averaging over 25 points. Um, he was a great scorer in the G League last year, really making some noise, hoping to try to get a two-way spot and find some minutes in the NBA. And then another guy that's I just want to give a shout out to is Dexter Dennis. He's an older player, but he's been shooting like around 80% from the 3-point line, right? Well, shooting the lights out. So you have to give a shout out to Dexter Dennis for his performance also when he's been playing for the Spurs. And then the Toronto Raptors, as far as like team identity goes, they're one of the craziest, most fun teams to watch. Their defensive identity, even in the summer league, has been awesome to watch. Right, Colin Murray Boyles, they drafted. That was his biggest skill. He's only gotten to play a couple of games, um, but Jonathan Mogbo's got crazy energy and length. There's a swing big, kind of a fun energy big man there. Ulrich Chomchi has had great defensive flashes and improvement to me. Chucky Hepburn, offensively isn't there, but defensively, especially for summer league, he's going to get into you. Jamal Shed is just a dog. You love to see him play. And then I love offensively. As an undersized guard, you need to figure out ways to score. And in that from that free throw line around his little push shot, kind of like Brandon, it looks like a little Brandon Clark esque. I love his little push shot. It goes in more times than not. So I think Jamal Shed is definitely a beast. Jacoby Walter has had scoring moments. You hope he makes another leap this year. AJ Lawson, he's coming off the bench for their summer league, but he had a 30-point game in the NBA towards the end of the season. He's shown that he's an NBA level scorer there. So the Raptors have been actually a surprisingly very fun team to watch here in the summer league. Another team that was intriguing for most people coming into the summer league was the Utah Jazz because their whole starting five was basically players like their NBA starting five almost, right? Uh, that being said, their NBA team might be a little rough, but they've had some moments, like Kyle Filipowski. He needs to make some defensive improvements for sure to be a consistent NBA guy, but offensively, he's just too good. Um, he's one of the best summer league offensive players I've seen in the last couple of years. He's a mismatch for most big men. Can score outside, inside. Filipowski way too good for the summer league at this point. I've been disappointed with Isaiah Collier. I wanted to see some more improvement. He looks like he's forcing too much, trying to do too much. Still can't shoot it very well. Very good passer still, but he gotta improve in other aspects offensively. Cody Williams, he was a horrendous rookie to be blunt, but he's finished around the rim a little bit better, shown some improvements. We'll see if that can carry over to a better NBA season. Walter Clayton, when he's played, has shown some flashes that I think he can be. Maybe their starting guard eventually. Uh, Better playmaker than I would have guessed as well. So we know he can score, he can shoot, but his playmaking abilities have stood out to me. And then Ace Bailey, their fifth overall pick, showed why he can be polarizing. He can hit some shots. Um, Showing some flashes of what he can do defensively, especially in the weak side. A little bit of passing. They kind of shut him down, but Ace has played pretty well, so I think you can see why they were high on him. Took him with their first round pick, and then the last team to wrap it up, the Washington Wizards, another team like the Jazz, sent a lot of their rotational guys to the summer league. Um, Trey Johnson has been very impressive as a rookie. I had a bold prediction earlier that maybe he could lead the team in scoring. While that probably doesn't happen with guys like CJ McCollum there, I still wouldn't be shocked. Trey Johnson, he looks super comfortable out there offensively, hitting tough shots. Um, he had that crazy play where he threw it off the back of the defender to go score. So like you can see that he's just got the instincts offensively. Uh, AJ Johnson, the other Johnson, point guard, he's got crazy athleticism, good size. Still can't shoot the ball very well, but I still think he might have the highest upside of any of their young players, not named Trey Johnson. He probably has the lowest floor, but if you can somehow tap into that potential, there's something there. Keyshawn George has been surprising to me. He looks definitely much improved. Good defensive moments for sure. Hitting more shots than I would have guessed. So I think he's going to make a good year two leap. He's impressed me. I wasn't super high on him last year, but he's looking like he's going to prove me wrong. I think there. Um, Bub Carrington hasn't showed me anything I didn't really know. Um, going to be another off-ball guard for them. Some self-creation. Good player. I don't know what his ceiling is as a player. Alex Sarr has some crazy defensive flashes. I still think he could be an elite defender there. And then their other rookie, Will Riley. He's just so far away. Such a project raw player. It's just clear that he's not going to be ready for the NBA yet. Here watching the summer league. Um, yeah, there it is. That's just my thoughts on each NBA Summer League team. Nothing crazy, just the players that have impressed me, made impressions. Uh, and I look forward to seeing more of the news or reports coming through this summer and seeing where these guys might end up. If they are kind of fighting for those roster spots, I always love seeing where these guys go, seeing how the rookies progress during the next season. So I would love to hear who got caught your guys' eyes. Let me know which players impressed you or maybe disappointed you during the summer league. And thank you for tuning in. I'll see you next time.